What's up, you guys? You're tuned into the Cutting Room Knife Review. I'm your host, Garrett, and today we're taking a look at the Civivi VisionFG. This is my second episode in my Budget Banger series, and this knife is what I would consider the quintessential budget banger. For under $100, guys, it really doesn't get better than this. This knife is what all the other budget banger knives should be measured against. If you only have $100 to spend on a knife, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a knife that is better than this. I am going to be going through this series and basically comparing all the other budget banger knives to this knife. And in this little review, I'm going to explain to you why this knife is the ultimate budget banger. What's up, guys? I'm Garrett. You're tuned in to the Cutting Room Knife Review, where I review knives, blades, and all things sharp. Please like and subscribe so I can keep bringing you more killer knife content. Let's go through the dimensions and materials of the Civivi VisionFG. So the overall length of the Civivi VisionFG is 7.95 inches. The width is 1.3 inches at the thickest part. The overall height, including the pocket clip, is 0.64 inches. The blade length is 3.54 inches. And the closed length of the knife, or the handle length, is going to be 4.54 inches. The blade thickness is 0.12 inches. And the handle thickness without the clip is 0.48 inches, just about half an inch. The overall weight of this knife is 4.07 ounces. Guys, this knife falls pretty much right in the middle of what I consider a perfect everyday carry. It is on actually the longer side of what I consider a perfect everyday carry, but it doesn't feel like it. What I consider a perfect everyday carry, or my general guidelines for that, is between a 7 and 8 inch long knife in overall length, between a 3 and a 3.5 inch blade. And this knife basically is the upper end of that. But to me, it really doesn't feel like that. So what we have is a flat ground Nitro V blade. And on Civivi knives, you're going to find them using Nitro V a ton. It is kind of an offshoot of 14C28N. And the give and take between those two steels is this is a tougher, more durable steel than the 14C28N is. It doesn't hold an edge as well, but it does just fine. And the edge it does take is a laser beam of an edge, and it's easy to get it there. The fact that it's not quite as stainless as a 14C28N isn't really a big deal either, as you have, the PVD options, and I don't really find Nitro V to be a steel that rusts terribly. We have micarta for our scales in this knife. In this price range of the VisionFG, we also are able to get G10 scales and Ultim scales, and I believe it's called Ultex, but future me, check that. There's a couple different scale materials that in the under $100 version of the Civivi VisionFG that are available. Now, there is a little bit higher end exclusive model of this VisionFG that has a S35VN blade with carbon fiber scales, but it's limited, or it's a exclusive release to a particular online knife retailer. And then we also have the Damascus blade available from Civivi, which takes it just over $100. But for today, we're talking about the Nitro V blade Civivi VisionFG. The Civivi VisionFG has a stock pocket clip that is a deep carry pocket clip. It's an awesome pocket clip. Civivi does this on a lot of their knives, and my hat is off to them for it. More knife companies should just come stock with a deep carry pocket clip. Now, the Civivi VisionFG is designed by Snex Tan, and he is an awesome designer of knives. He did the Buster FG, and he also did the big brother to this VisionFG, the Vision R. And all those knives include his very awesome super lock mechanism. So the super lock is basically this bar that sits in the spine of the knife, and it's held in by a spring back here. And when the knife comes up, you'll see that there's this little cutout that locks behind a bar, and the bar is pushed up and over it by the spring. When we push this bar back, it releases the blade and it can fall. Now, this causes a really interesting detent, and it makes for a really fun knife, and you can almost use that lock like a clutch would be in a manual transmission car, where you can kind of feather it and stop the knife on its way down, instead of just dropping shut like you might have with a plunge lock. Now, you can open up the lock like you can with the plunge lock and just let the blade fly freely. I don't really like doing this myself. It's not the way I like to fidget with the knife, but it is totally usable, and I think that it's a better way than a plunge lock, because you can kind of use that clutch style feeling to the knife to stop the blade and not have it bounce on you. Like a lot of times when you do a drop shut blade, it sits there, and if you hold this down, it bounces, right? But when we let go of that, it grabs the blade right away. We have thumb studs for our method of deployment, and the knife runs on ball bearings. It is incredibly smooth. It has a feel to it of a knife that is much above its price range. There is no jimping on the top of the blade, and that's kind of my one gripe about this knife. Is I really wish that there was a little bit of jimping for my thumb right here. It just feels like I'd be able to grip into the blade a little bit better. Not that I think that I can't grip into this blade. We can kind of choke up on the reverse Tonto blade shape a little bit, but I like holding it back here. I think it's fitting my hand well. It fits the entire palm of my hand, all 4 fingers. It also is very easy to deploy with a reverse flick. This knife is very fun to fidget with. It is a very fidget-friendly, playful knife. I love picking up this knife and playing with it. It's a knife that I don't find myself putting down very much. I'll pick this knife up over a lot of other knives. And speaking of other knives, let's compare the VisionFG to some other contemporary pocket knives. So, the VisionFG is a very contemporary size pocket knife, as we can see if we compare it to the mandatory comparison of the Spyderco Para 3. And of course, the other side comparison that we have to have every single time. It's a law. For some reason, during knife reviews, we must compare every knife to the Para 3 and the Paramilitary 2. And if you look at the VisionFG, it is very close to the Paramilitary 2 size. So it is a full-size carry. I wouldn't say it's a large carry, but it's definitely not a compact carry, and it's definitely not a subcompact carry. It's a full-size carry. I like that term. Not big, but full-size. Now, we can compare it to some other knives, but as you can see, it's what I would consider very comfortable for many people, the size that a lot of people like carrying. We have a large Sabenza and a small Sabenza. It is, of course, much closer to the size of the large Sabenza. We have a Benchmade Osborne 940, and it's about the same size as the Benchmade Osborne 940. It is a very familiar size knife to many knives that we carry. It feels really comfortable in the hand. It is just a knife that feels like home. And to find a knife under $100 that feels like home in comparison to so many other more expensive knives, I think that's just a home run knock out of the park. Now, we can compare it to the Vision R. Now, this is actually going to be a future video that I'm going to release, and it's going to be a head-to-head breakdown, kind of a showdown of sorts of these two knives. And what this is this is the high-end version of this knife, or this knife is the budget version of this knife, however you want to look at it. But Snextan designed both these knives, this being the Wii version and this being the Civivi version, Civivi being the more budget-friendly line of Wii knives. The differences are going to be the handle materials. This one has titanium versus micarta. This is linerless. This has a steel liner. Flat grind compared to a hollow grind. Nitro V compared to CPM 20 CV. But otherwise, they actually act a whole lot like each other. We have finger holes in the Vision R compared to thumb studs in the Civivi VisionFG, but really we have two very similar knives, both with super locks, both being just about the same size and operating very similarly to one another. Now, I want to take a moment to look at this knife and then also the Demco 80-20.5. And the reason I want to look at these knives is because what you have in the Vision FG is this super lock. And it is the same super lock that is used on this Wii knife. And it is incredibly close to Demco's Shark Lock, which is very popular. And the Demco AD series 20.5 and the 80-20 series are incredibly popular knives that sell for much, much more money than this. And part of the reason they sell so much is because of this locking mechanism that they have that gives them an incredible detent and a really fun, fidgety experience. Now, is the 80-20.5 a nicer knife than the Vision FG? Yes, it is. It uses nicer bearings, uses nicer blade materials, titanium handles, etc., etc. But the experience that you're getting from this locking mechanism that's the same on these two more expensive knives is really unique in this Civivi Vision FG. You don't get that in many budget knives. A lot of times you're lucky to get, a axis lock. You're lucky to get a compression lock or a button activated compression lock. But to get a super lock is very unique, and pretty much other than the Buster FG and this Vision FG, you don't see it on any other budget knives. It's really a cool feature. So I want to leave you with my final thoughts of this Civivi Vision FG. So my final thoughts on the Civivi Vision FG are that it is the quintessential budget banger. This knife is amazing. What you get out of it for the money, really, I don't think many other knives compare to it. That's kind of going to be the goal of my whole budget banger series, to see if any knives can beat this knife. Between the locking mechanism, the feel that it has because of this locking mechanism allows the bearings and the action of this knife to just feel superb and so much more high-end that many of its counterparts just can't feel that way. The ergonomics of this knife are just superb as well. It fits really well into my hand. It's a very comfortable knife to use, and it's a really fun knife to fidget with, to play with. It's really a knife that you don't want to put down. It's a knife that I find myself picking up a lot more than its counterparts that are of the same budget that this knife is. I really think that it is a good looking knife. I think it looks the part of a knife that is much more expensive than it. And that's part of the game too, you guys. It has to be something that you like how it looks. And I really like this shape of blade. If you know, my favorite knife ever is a Cortex XL. And what you have in a Cortex XL is a very similar blade shape to this. I really like the belly of this knife, that they didn't make it go straight across into almost Warncliffe or sheep's foot territory. I like that it keeps this belly to it, just kind of allows you to roll through your cut a little bit more. I love the feel to this knife. I have said it, and I'll say it one last time. It feels more expensive than it is. And that's the goal of this entire series. This knife feels more expensive than you have to pay for. And so many knives are more expensive than they feel like. You get it the other way around, where you feel like you paid too much money for a knife that doesn't satisfy you. And in this case, I don't think you pay very much money at all for a whole lot of satisfaction. And that's an awesome thing. So this knife is a complete winner. This knife is the ultimate budget banger. This knife is, for the price, a 10 out of 10. Is it a 10 out of 10? No, it's not the Cortex XL. It's not a perfect knife. But for the price, for 85 bucks, this is as good as it's getting, you guys. And if you were to ask me any day of the week, under $100, what should I get? I'd say go check out Civivi VisionFG. That's going to be my first answer to you. And if you don't like it, fine, move on. But you need to check out this knife first. It is just what makes sense to me, because I don't think you're going to find a knife that can compare to it for the price. And really, that's that. That's the VisionFG. And it is the best budget banger on the market. That's a wrap, you guys. It's not much more complicated than that. So this has been the Cutting Room Knife Review. This is the VisionFG. I'm your host, Garrett. Until next time, you guys, stay sharp.